Hello and welcome to Big Bald Business. Today we're going to look at break even. So what is break even? Well, you have to work out how many items of something you need to sell before you get back all the money you've invested. So let me give you an example. If I buy a machine for £100,000 and I'm selling something for £10, how many £10 worth of items do I need to sell to get the £100,000 back? That's the concept. Okay, so what do we need to do? First of all, you need to work out the break-even point, and there's a formula for that, and you need to remember this. Okay, so the formula is on the board up here, and it is fixed costs divided by selling price minus variable costs. Okay, that selling price minus variable costs is also known as contribution or contribution per unit. So quite often you might see the formula written down as FC over contribution. So now we need to go through what are fixed costs, what are variable costs, what is selling price. Okay, selling price is easy, it's what you sell the item for. Fixed costs are items that do not change with output. So let me give you an example. If I buy a car and it costs me £10,000, if I use it a million times, it costs me £10,000. If I never use it and it just sits on the drive for 10 years, still costs me £10,000. It doesn't change with the amount of usage. It's a fixed cost. Okay? A chair, a table. I buy a chair for £20, never use it, it's £20. If I use it every day for the rest of my life, it's £20. Okay. Selling price, like I say, is selling price. Variable costs are costs that do change with output or usage. So if you're making an item, you're making these pens. Okay, let's just say the materials to make the pen costs £1. Your variable cost is £1. If I make 1,000 of these, it's £1 times 1,000. If I make 200 of these, £1 times 200. Okay, so that's a variable cost. A fixed cost is a cost that doesn't change with usage or output, and the selling price is a selling price. So what you'll get in an exam, you'll get some text, you need to go through, you need to work out, okay, what's the fixed cost, which ones are variable costs that do vary with output, and what's the selling price. And as soon as you've got that information, you literally need to remember the formula up here, okay, and then work it out. So I'm going to put number 1 there because that's the first thing you do before you put the chart together. Now, usually in exam situations, you won't need to put a chart together, but I'm going to show you how to do it, because if you can do it, then you'll know everything about break even. Quite often what you will get, you'll get a kind of gap fill. So you might get a chart like this, but you might have a line missing, or they might not be labeled. So all you need to do is to know how to read them, and then you can put whatever in there and get full marks. Okay, so let's go through the working out. So like we said, the formula's up here. FC, fixed cost divided by selling price minus variable cost. That is also known as contribution or contribution per unit. Okay, so let's have a look up here. We've got this item here, fixed cost £10,000, a machine, whatever it is. Okay, we buy it for £10,000. We're selling our items for £10. And our variable cost, so the cost of the materials per item we sell, is £5. So all we've got to do is throw that into the formula. And I've already done it here. Here's one I did earlier. 10,000 divided by 5, so that's 10 minus 5. 10,000 divided by 5 is 2,000 units. So we know our break even for this chart is 2,000 units. Okay, so now we've worked it out. The next thing you need to do is to basically draw the axis. So I'm going to put number 2 kind of here, because you're going to be drawing this bit and this bit here. Okay, but there's a couple of tricks, a couple of things you need to know, because if you don't do it this way, your chart is going to end up squashed over one side and it's going to look awful. So first thing we do, we know the answer is 2,000. Okay, so we're going to make sure the answer, which we've worked out, is roughly halfway along the bottom there. I haven't done exactly halfway, but it's pretty much halfway. Okay, make sure the gaps are the same. So if that's 2,000, 1,000's got to be there. 0, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Quite often what happens, people put 2,000 there and then they put 3,000, 4,000, and the whole thing just looks an absolute mess. So make sure it's the same gaps. And the answer is somewhere in the middle. Then we look at this axis up here. So this one here is units, this one up here is all the money stuff. Okay, so there's a picture of a pound. Okay, so we've got to make sure fixed cost is roughly a quarter of the way up. Again, makes the chart look really neat. So let's have a look. Our fixed costs, £10,000. So you notice there, 10,000. Okay, so again, the gap's got to be the same, 0 and 10, 20, 30, 40. Okay, and then all we do, the next thing, number 3, after we've done the axes, we put on the fixed cost line. It's going to be straight. So what it says is, if we produce nothing, it's £10,000 fixed cost. If we produce 3,000 units, £10,000 fixed cost. 4,000, £10,000 fixed cost. It doesn't matter how many we produce, the fixed costs are fixed. They do not change with usage or output. Okay, so the next step, we're going to put in sales revenue. Now, quite often when people are teaching you, they might put total costs in first. I like to do it like this, okay? So it's just my personal preference. So I'm going to put number 4 here. Okay, so how do we work out where to plot the line? So how much are we selling the items for? Let's look up here, £10. Okay, so choose any number along the bottom. Let's say, I don't know, 2,000. 2,000 times 10, £20,000. So all I'd do, I've plotted this already, but I'd go up from 2,000 to 20,000 and I'd just put a little dot or whatever there. Okay, 1,000 times 10, 10,000. So we know we're going to put a dot there. Okay, you could do the same for 4,000, whatever. And then all you do is draw a line all the way down from 0. Why does it come from 0? Because if you sell nothing, you've got no revenue, you've got no money coming in. So the line has to start here. And then you just go through the couple of dots you've plotted and it's a straight line. And I put SR there, which stands for sales revenue. Okay, and the last thing we're going to do, well, not the last thing, but nearly the last thing, is put on total costs. Okay, so there's 2 costs we need to work out. Fixed costs plus variable costs equal total costs. Okay, we've already got our fixed cost line. So we've got our fixed cost line, we've just got to add variable costs on to get to total costs. So I'm going to put number 5 here. Okay, so how do we work this out? Okay, so our variable costs are £5 per unit. So again, choose any number down here. Let's choose 2,000. 2,000 times 5 is 10,000. So our variable costs are going to be 10,000 plus the 10,000 we've already got there, fixed cost. So we've got a fixed cost of 10,000, add 10,000, comes to 20, we put a dot there. Okay, choose another one, 4,000 times the variable cost of £5, that's 20,000. Add it to the fixed cost, that's 30,000. So if we go up to 30,000, it's about here. Okay, so we put a dot there. Now, bear in mind, we start this line here because our total costs, if we produce nothing, are £10,000 because we bought this item here, the fixed cost. So we have to add on the variable cost to the fixed cost. So we then draw a line all the way through there and we've got our total costs. So just remember, fixed costs plus variable costs is total costs, or you could write it like that. TC equals FC plus VC. Whichever way you want to remember it, that plus that is your total cost. Okay, so now we've got number 5 in, pretty much the chart is complete. So we need to put in the break-even point. So it's where your costs here and your revenue meet. Okay, money coming in, revenue, costs, money going out. Where do they meet? That should be our break-even point there. Okay, so I'll put BE there. Now, we can check whether it's right. So we worked out it's 2,000 units. If we go down from here, 2,000 units. So we know the chart is correct. The other thing we need to put in, we can just put profit in here. So anything in here is profit. Anything in here is loss. So if you want to read this chart later on, you might think, okay, what's our sales revenue if we produce 4,000 units? So you go up, okay, it's £40,000. Or what's our total cost if we produce 4,000 units? Okay, we go up here, £30,000. Okay, so that's how you read it. That's a method I would say to use. What I would do is go off and watch this video a couple of times, practice it, but follow the numbered steps like I've said. So first of all, you work out the answer. then you put on the axes, then you put on the fixed cost line, then you put on sales revenue, then total cost, then you put the other bits and pieces in the break-even point, loss and profit as well. Keep watching Big Bald Business. That is break even.